Welcome back. It's time for Media Watch France, our daily look at the top stories in the French media. James Creedon joins me with the latest. Good evening.
Good evening, Anna.
And we start with the run-up to France's presidential election. Nicolas Sarkozy should announce his candidacy at some point. We're still not sure when. The election is in less than 3 months.
I think every day this week, Lana, I've been coming on and saying that the suspense is building and that the media is talking about it and that they're talking about little else. And I suppose it really is a strategy on the part of Nicolas Sarkozy to build that suspense.
To stay in the headlines, perhaps.
Exactly, so that the media sort of anticipate when this is going to happen. Although the suspense, in some senses, was ended today because the UMP party have announced that a large rally is being organised for Nicolas Sarkozy in Marseille on the 19th of February. So that was an official announcement by the UMP. We can imagine that he's probably not going to have a rally to say, OK, it's over, I'm not standing for president. That would
Presumably this is it, February 19th.
Exactly, and maybe that official announcement will come before that date. But in any case, what's interesting today is to look at the social media sort of efforts of his campaign team, because we can pretty much suspect that there is a campaign team. Now, there's already an official Facebook page for Nicolas Sarkozy. You can see it here, with messages going up a couple of times a week over the last, for quite some time now. I noticed one message that went up earlier this week was very family orientated. It said the family is the very basis of French society. You can count on me to protect family values. So a very sort of conservative message, and indeed we can suspect that that is how the campaign will continue. Now Nicolas Sarkozy has opened a new Facebook page, this time with the
and he's got the new layout as well.
That's right, the famous timeline. And here up on top you can see an echo of that message on the previous Facebook page. J'éprouve depuis le plus jeune âge la fierté d'appartenir à une grande, vieille et belle nation de France. From the youngest age, I've been proud to be a part of a great, old and beautiful nation, France. So again, a very strong, conservative, nationalistic message. And you look down through that Facebook page and it is quite interesting because what he's done, and this is the facility of the timeline, you don't just create messages in the present, but you can actually fill in your past. And that allows you to create a narrative, I suppose, and to write or even rewrite history. So what people have been talking about, or what the analysts have been saying, for example, Guy, what's his name, if I could find his name, Guy Bérenhomme from Europe 1, he has been saying that there's some remarkable omissions in this narrative that is created. For example, 94 to 96. No trace of anything anything in that 2-year period. And that was when he supported Edouard Balladur, Chirac's enemy.
Arch-rival.
That's right. And of course, Sarkozy was originally Chirac's protege. So this was a political, as the French say, traversée du désert.
It was the political killing of the father, I suppose.
That's right. So he prefers to forget about that particular period in history, and other events such as the big celebration of his victory in 2007 at Fouquet's, which became a symbol for the decadence and excess of the early days of the Sarkozy regime. There's no mention of that. So we prefer to have photos such as this of, the campaign in 2007. Also photos alongside Jacques Chirac back in the day. So it's interesting to see, I suppose, the social media efforts in advance of the official announcement.
It's interesting to see this timeline with pictures of Sarkozy going back to his 20s, I suppose.
That's right, back to his heyday. And so very, very, very much a conservative family values message coming through through Facebook and his various different pages.
Countries with close ties to France are also waiting for this presidential election. They're looking to it quite closely. Some are making bets, I suppose, on who the winner is going to be.
That's right.
Are
they? There's some pretty interesting coverage of this in Slate Africa, slateafrique.fr. They have been looking at the Moroccan regime, which seems to be making overtures towards François Hollande.
The socialist candidate.
That's right. Now, one person in particular who's come to the attention of the media is this lady here. Her name is I'm losing my place in the notes. It's Najat Vallaud-Belkacem. Now, she's 35 years old, and she's a pretty intriguing person. She is one of the up-and-coming figures in the Socialist Party in François Hollande's inner circle. But she's also one of 37 members of the Moroccan Overseas Council, directly appointed by King Mohammed VI. Now, you would think that would be a conflict of interests, somebody who's in Sarkozy's inner circle but has been appointed to a prestigious Moroccan Overseas Council.
So holding important political positions in two countries at the same time,
Exactly. And now, the thing is, what the analysts at Slate Afrique have been saying is that traditionally Moroccan regimes tend to support the French political right. Sarkozy, Valéry Giscard d'Estaing, Augustin, but this time around, they seem to be going for Hollande. Now, perhaps they see that...
suspicious to some
well,
observers?
it could be something to do with the influence of this particular lady who's very close to François Hollande's political inner circle, but it could also be down to the fact that François Hollande is doing better in the polls, and perhaps Rabat is trying to pick the winning horse. So it is interesting to see, I suppose, the moving and shaking in the months ahead of the presidential election, and people trying to pick the winning camp, as opposed to, I suppose, the losing camp. Yeah.
And next to a conflict, a row between France and Spain, and it's been sparked by a very well-known satirical show here called Les Guignols de l'Info.
That's right. Now, this is pretty extraordinary stuff. Cyclist Alberto Contador. Now, he was suspended in the past week for 2 years for doping. He was stripped of his title for the Tour de France in 2010. So the Les Guignols de l'Info decided to, I suppose, satirize this particular event. And I think we have the webpage here showing headlines. What they did was they didn't portray Les Guignols. They didn't portray... excuse me, I'm losing my way. Alberto Contador, they portrayed Rafael Nadal, the tennis player, as...
Who's never been involved in any doping scandal, as far as I know.
That's right, never. He's never been involved in any doping scandal at all, so he's been totally innocent, but it suggests that he was up to no good. Now, let's take a look. There isn't any French speech over it, so I think a picture in this case will speak 1,000 words. So I keep living, 'cause it feels right, and it's so nice, and I do it all again this time. It's forever, it gets better, and I like how it
feels. Les sportifs espagnols, ils ne gagnent pas par hasard.
So it says, basically, Spanish athletes don't win by chance, by accident. And I can see why they would be offended.
And you see a frenzied, clearly doped up Rafael Nadal in the satirical version of things. So, basically what happened was Spain got really, really annoyed about this. Now, the Spanish foreign minister is set to write to the French sports minister and complain. And in the next series, I think we have another series of pictures here showing a Madrid correspondent for a French radio station being picked to pieces by Spanish journalists on TV down in Spain, saying that the French are jealous because their sports stars don't do as well as the Spanish. One actual Spanish journalist...
He looks angry.
He is very angry. He even asked this poor RMC radio correspondent to say that he was ashamed of being French. Right?
Well, that's pushing it a little bit, isn't it?
It's definitely overreacting. Now, I think what they don't seem to get is Les Guignols de l'Info pretty much target everybody in French society.
Yeah, they do poke fun at everyone.
And it's very tongue-in-cheek. And maybe it is another example of where humour just simply doesn't translate, lost in translation. So, yeah, I think they perhaps could have taken it a little bit more lightly, but yeah. They weren't happy.
All right, James Creedon, thanks very much for that. That was Media Watch France. And coming up after a short break, we'll look at the top internet content of the day. One South Korean blogger faces time in jail over an offensive tweet. Find out what he said exactly in Web News. It's up next.
He made his dream come true, getting the world to dance. DJ, producer, master of remix, Bob Sinclair is igniting dance floors once again with his latest album. A special edition of The Culture Show with the most sought-after French DJ on earth. Monday, 5:10 p.m. Paris time on France 24.